Yes, I am
He is now. That's good. Excellent. I'm glad you're recording it. That's good news, because we're hoping to send it out afterwards so people can watch back. Okay, so thank you very much, and thank you for having me, Shane. I'm very excited to present to your lovely tribe of accountants and bookkeepers that you work with. What I would like to do today is go through the relationship marketing roadmap, which I have been working on for many years. I've been honing it. It's something that, as you guys know, when you learn something new and you do something new, the more you practice it, the clearer you get the clarity around it. And this relationship marketing roadmap has been being put together since 2009. So we're on about version number 5 of it. So you're getting the best it's ever been. It's not an idea that I've had quickly. We've been honing it and working on it for a long time. So what I would like to give you today is a proven methodology that will increase the number of leads and referrals that you receive, and referrals are key. It's not just about leads, and double the number of clients that you acquire. Now, what I would like to say is we've got the webinar chat and the Q&A. If you do have any questions, please do put it in the chat box. Hopefully Shane is going to monitor that too. He might interrupt me. I'll keep an eye on it too. But I do speak really quickly, and there are lots of things that I want to cover with you guys today. It's jam-packed. I'm not selling anything on this webinar at all, so I'd love for you just to sit back and relax. Actually, no, don't sit back and relax. I want you to take notes. Get your pen and paper out and take lots of notes from this, but relax, knowing that this is not a sales webinar. This is just me spending a little over an hour with you, teaching you my 24 years experience in marketing and the best bits of it, and solely adapted for accountants. So it's not going to be pie in the sky and not relevant to you guys. It is marketing purely for accounting firms. So sit back and make lots of notes. A little bit about me. Well, actually, Shane has introduced me already. I have been running my own business since 2009. Before that, I used to be an event director of exhibitions all over the world, from food exhibitions to printing exhibitions. And I used to run exhibitions in Brussels where we had these massive printing presses that were like 5 times the size of a house. So what I do today is very different to what I did in the corporate world, but I definitely based my business around my passion and what I really enjoy doing. And that's why I speak a lot about marketing. So you'll see me on the speaking circuit at events and things, and I have a lot of passion. I do webinars every couple of weeks, sharing expertise on marketing and how I see the industry going. 2018 is going to be quite exciting, and the reason why is we are launching the British Accounting Marketing Awards. So what I'm going to be teaching you today, if you can start applying it really quickly, you can apply for the Marketing Awards, which we will be actually presenting. The winners will be presented at Accountex in May, and I am also launching in January the Maverick Accountants podcast and the Maverick Accountant book, which Shane has also commented on and that I will be doing. So what I want for you guys to get from today is that everything that we do here at 22 and everything that I do is specializing in accounting firms. And what I need you to do is to apply what I'm teaching you on what you want to achieve. So you've come on this webinar for a reason. And the thing is what has brought you here today needs to actually help you get to where you want to be. It's an hour out of your time and you're investing that time. So I want you to apply it in the right way. As I've said, take notes. I do speak really fast. I try and slow down. I do apologize. I do try and slow down, but when I'm passionate and when I know we've got so much to get in, luckily we are recording it so we can hit the replay. So why are you here today? Very briefly, when I do this webinar, the kind of feedback I get and the reason why people come on these webinars is they want to understand marketing. Accounting firms have always relied on the traditional referrals or telemarketing to grow their firms. And what has happened is, with all the changes in technology and what's happening in the accounting industry, they are having to understand marketing a little bit more so that you can stand out and differentiate. So one of the reasons why most people turn up for these webinars is so that they can understand marketing a little more. Now, marketing is only like the beginning point, because actually what you want to get is more prospects and more clients. And that's what marketing delivers. And that's what I'm going to be teaching you today, all the way from how to attract those ideal clients and those prospects and how to actually then turn them into a client. So we're not just doing the attract stage, we're doing it all the way through to the conversion stage. I'm going to show you how to navigate social media. This is a jam-packed, so we're not going to go deep on everything. I'm going to be giving you a nice strategy that you can go away and implement. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about blogging. One of the problems that I see a lot of accounting firms, a lot of bookkeeping firms suffer with is that they need to write blogs, and they end up paying companies to write blogs on their behalf, and they end up being stuffy and not really what your ideal client wants to read. So I'm going to show you how to understand blogging a little bit better and how you can implement that into your firm today and give you the strategy for writing your blogs. Number one thing is, of course, you want to grow your practice. That's why you're part of AVN, and that's what they're actually achieving with you guys is fantastic. And when Shane and I were talking a moment ago, we were talking like, marketing is almost the last thing that you guys need to do, because you've got to get the way that your firm runs right first. And then once you've got that kind of functioning and it's systemized and it's working, and you're having that ability to grow your practice, that's when you can start to implement marketing. You can't really do marketing if you haven't fixed the firm and the way the firm functions. So we are talking about growing your practice, but marketing is only a band-aid if you've got the inside bits broken. But you're working with Shane on that, which is fantastic at ABM. And of course, we want you to feel safe and secure with the ever-changing landscape. When my daughter comes home to me and she's like, "Oh, Mom, look at Snapchat." And it's like, no, I'm not going on Snapchat. There's lots and lots of social media applications that are coming out every single month. And, should you be jumping onto that bandwagon, and should you be using them? Well, mostly the answer is no, and you have to think about who your ideal client is. But I want you to feel very comfortable with modern marketing techniques and feel very safe and secure with what we're going to be going through today. So I will try and keep it as simple as possible. I am a marketing geek. So just like you guys, when you start talking about accounting, you might use a little bit of language that your clients don't understand. If at any time I'm doing that and I'm going down that marketing geek language, please just put in the chat box and say, "Amanda, I don't understand the word you're saying. Can you put it into speech so that I can understand it?" It does happen sometimes. So please be quick to pull me up on that so that I can explain properly to you. Although I do try and educate the best that I can. So why we're here today, you want more profitability in your firm. You want to possibly be able to scale, which enables you to grow so that you're not actually doubling the amount of time you're working in your firm. You're doubling your profits, but actually the amount of time you're working is the same or even less. And some of you will be looking to sell your firm or set your firm up so that you can sell it. And when you get your marketing right, once you've fixed the inside of your business, when you get your marketing right, that really enables you to maximize your profitability, enable you to have scalability, and of course it really helps cement the saleability of your firm as well, because if you have marketing systems and automation in place, then what happens is your valuation goes up, and the client acquisition is easy for you, and when you sell it, people know that they can still acquire clients using the systems, the marketing systems that you put in place. So why accounting firms? What gives me the right to sit here and speak with you today? Other than the fact that I have years and years and years and years of marketing experience, I have never been an accountant. I have lived with an accountant for many years. My father here is a tax technician. And a couple of years ago, we were sitting and we were talking about marketing. I used to help a lot of startup businesses, or I used to help businesses that have started and they really wanted to catapult their growth fast. And I was talking to my dad, and we were talking, I've always been very, very passionate about the industry anyway, but we were talking about how the accounting industry was changing. And Dad works for a firm up in London. He's ex-PwC and Stoys. He left there and started working for a smaller firm up in London. And what happens is, we were talking about it, and he was saying to me, "The accountants really need your help, Amanda." And I was like, "Yeah, but my personality doesn't necessarily match with the accountants, and I scare a lot of them, and and actually that I do. But when you get to know me, I'm just a big softie." But he was like, "Please, can you help them?" And after spending a lot of time researching and talking to the accounting industry, I realized how much we do get on, myself and accountants, and how the value that I bring to the industry really is helping helping it. And that's been very evident over the past few months. People like Accountex and Intuit QuickBooks have reached out to me and said, can you come and share your expertise on the accounting stages? And also with regards to introducing the awards, one of the reasons I'm introducing the awards is so that we can really raise the bar for marketing for accounting firms and actually show how awesome you guys are and encourage you to share your marketing more. So why accounting firms? Well, my dad's a tax man. He did get made redundant from Stoys about 20 years ago. He bought into a franchise called the Tax Team. A year later, that franchise just disappeared because he couldn't get clients. So the two reasons are, one, I don't want you guys ever to not be able to get clients. It's once you learn the process, you can apply it. And it is about building relationships, which is what I'm talking to you about today. And the other one was where Dad turned around a couple of years ago and says, the industry really needs your help. And when you get those signs and the calling to come and help an industry, I'm very, very pleased and excited to be part of this, ever-changing landscape. And the other two people in that picture, by the way, is my sister and my mother, just in case you thought that was rather random. So that's why I work with accounting firms. Absolutely love you guys. When you get to speak to me on a one-to-one, or when you see me, if I'm speaking on a stage, or if you work with me, you'll get to see I'm a big softie. I end up being referred to as people's mums, as I really like to support them and nurture them with the growth of their firms and with their marketing. So what I would like to share with you today is we're going to do the relationship marketing roadmap, which I'm going to give you the 9 different things that you need to put in place. So it is a little bit like putting a puzzle together or painting by numbers, but these are 9 areas that are overarching that you can then make unique underneath for yourselves. And we're going to look at some of the problems that you're encountering at the moment and how we can overcome those problems. So the 3 biggest problems that I see for accounting firms at the moment is that you're really struggling to attract A-grade clients. When I speak to potential clients of mine on the phone, they say to me, yeah, I'm fully booked. Yes, I have lots and lots of clients. Yes, people are referring people to me. And, I do have people all the time that are saying that they want to work with our firm. But the problem is they're not necessarily paying you enough. They might be exhausting, and they might be asking for so much help and, not paying you for that help. Or maybe they're the kind of clients that turn up with that carrier bag and the receipts in the carrier bag and are just an absolute headache for you. So the biggest problem that I see accounting firms struggling with at the moment is that they're struggling to get A-grade clients. And something I would love for you guys to do, and I'm sure that Shane works on with you, is working out who your A through to your D clients. And if you have any E clients, that's like exit those clients immediately. So what marketing enables you to do is actually attract the A-grade clients that you're really looking for. The second thing is that there's not enough time, especially we were having this conversation earlier, but in December and January, you guys, if you are still stuck in the year-end tax cycle, you just do not have enough time to grow your practice and make it profitable. And I love this image. He was too busy to eat. It's a little bit how my dad gets at this time of year. I'm not going to talk to him till February because it's just way too stressful. He has Christmas Day and Boxing Day off, but other than that, it's kind of stressful in our house. So I understand that you don't have enough time to break the cycle, and I want to show you how you can do marketing so it doesn't actually take up all of your time. But on top of that, attract those A-grade clients so that you're not stressed out at the end of the year like this. And then finally, the third problem that I see you guys have is that you're struggling to scale. And if you don't take the time to focus on growing your business, it's not going to happen. And when you're struggling to scale and you're struggling to get those A-grade client leads in and you haven't got that predictable lead flow, what happens is you find, what you want to do is be able to turn on that tap when you've got space for clients and turn it off again if you need to. But if you're not focusing on actually having that tap that you can turn on and off, you live in feast and famine. And when you might want to invest in upgrading your website, or you want to take 2 weeks off out of your work because you haven't focused on growing your firm in a systemizable and a process-driven way, you find that it doesn't happen. So if you don't take time to focus on growth and focus on scaling and focus on actually having that business that you want, it just won't happen. And because you are so busy, you're doing it in your firm all the time, you don't have time for that focus. So what we need to do is kind of free up some of your time so that you can focus on growing your firm. Although This is a webinar that I do for a lot of people. So for you AVN guys, this slide might be a little bit null and void, because I know that one of the things that Shane does do is really work and help you to actually get yourself out of the business so you can find the time to focus on doing it. But on the plus side, that enables you to focus on marketing too. Okay. Is this okay? You're listening and you can hear. Write in the chat box if you can kind of resonate with what I'm saying. What I'm going to do now is actually go through the biggest problems that you are having and how to overcome those. Yeah, great stuff. Yes, lovely. Thank you very much, Ingrid, Emma, and Richard. Any questions, please do write them in the chat box. So the biggest problem that you have is your model is broken. And this is very relevant for what I was talking about with Shane earlier, because we were talking about your business model is broken. I'm talking about your marketing model is broken as well. And your marketing model isn't probably functioning for you in the way that you want it to. One of the reasons why is because what I find with most firms of accountants and bookkeepers is they talk about themselves. So you focus on the sales first and the relationships second, instead of relationships first and sales second. So let me explain what I mean by that. Have you ever found yourself asking these kind of questions when you're maybe writing blogs, or people ask what you do? Do you say that you're a firm that's really good at helping people and you should have people buy from you because you've won awards? Here's a list of our services, and if you sign up now, you can get it for less rate. I've seen firms do this a few times, and the problem is the firms that have to do this probably haven't had the customer journey to getting them to the conversation or to the meeting, because what happens is when you build relationships first, you actually stop yourself from being a commoditized accounting firm, and what you actually do is get seen as someone who provides huge amount of value. So when you go with the relationships first strategy, which is what I always teach, relationship first is where you show that you understand the problems that your ideal clients are having. And when you start sharing, these are the clients, these are the problems that you've got as our clients, here's some free blogs, here's an ebook, here's a video, here's some free advice, that actually starts to really build a relationship with your prospects and your hopefully your new clients. And that means that they don't question you on price. They see the value that you're providing. It means that, they're happy probably to pay you above the standard industry rate, purely because they believe they're getting the value and they believe that they're loved and they're cared for. So what I would like you guys to do is really make sure that you're focusing on relationship first and not sales first. And that simple shift in mindset will enable your marketing to work so much better for you. And even when you're writing a blog, if you start thinking about how can this blog help the client in front of me or the prospect in front of me, rather than how can I get my information across and I want to share about why you should buy from us, actually don't worry about that. Just always focus on building relationships. It's how I've managed to build relationships like I have with Shane, for example. We ask nothing of each other. It's about sharing and helping and supporting. And that supporting and collaboration with prospects and clients actually enables your firm to grow so much better. And when you're not living in fear going, I need to get my next client, where's my next client coming from? And it's like more about how can I help you? How can I build this relationship? You start to see the magic happen. And something I've really implemented over the past couple of years and watched, I've got 2 businesses, and watch both of them catapult through the roof just by building these relationships with people. The other problem that you guys have is that you are what I would call resistible. You're in an industry that, to anyone who isn't an accountant, it's kind of boring. You're put in this box and you're told that you're boring and you're accountants. I know that to be completely not true. My dad is the funniest person I've ever met. All my clients, we have an absolute giggle, and I understand that actually your personalities, you're no different from anybody else, and actually you're really, really funny and you're really enjoyable to spend time with and interesting and very intelligent. And what we need to do is stop you being looked at as these accountants in a box, and we need to share that you are not resistible and that you are irresistible, because as I wouldn't say as a species, as a group of people, you know, you're no different from everybody else. But the accounting industry has such a bad rep, and it's seen as something that's very, very boring, and that's not true. It's very interesting. I was writing an ebook for one of my clients a couple of days ago about 53 ways to save tax, and as I'm typing it out, it's like, oh my gosh, that's so interesting. Oh my gosh, I could buy a boat and I could put it through the business. You know, information like that is really interesting to people, and it kind of makes you a little bit more exciting. And what we need to do is actually not have you as resistible, but have you as irresistible, and start showing how cool you are and the value that you guys bring to businesses and people, because the value that you guys provide is immense. And I want you to be banging your drums and start sharing how awesome you guys are. And thirdly is you are not consistent. So even if you are showing up online, you are not doing it consistently. And what I find is you might go, right, I'm going to try blogging. I'm going to write 4 blogs and see what I get from it. And after those 4 blogs, you just don't get the clients, so you give up. Or maybe you'll try social media marketing and you'll do it for a few weeks and then you won't really see any results, so you give up. So what we need to do is get you consistent with your marketing, as automated as we can, so that you can really start to see the results. And also find your ways of doing marketing that gives you quick wins, and also the marketing that you need to do that might give you results later on down the line, but is actually laying really deep foundations. So if you, by the end of a year, have like 100 blogs or something on your website, you might not necessarily see a huge influx of clients during that year, but the following year that will really start to pay off, because you have a lot of information to go out on social media. You get known as a resource on your blog page, on your website, and people come to it many, many times, and they come back for information, and it builds that relationship. So there are some things like content marketing that is a long game, and there are some things that are immediate that can enable you to build relationships quickly, and that's very much things like telesales or direct mail. And I am a big fan of making sure you try all sorts of different ways of marketing to see what works for your firm. There is no right or wrong. And one of the clients I work with, he has a telesales firm, and we also help him on the content marketing side, and the two things complement very, very well. So I don't want you to sit here and think, gosh, I have to be just on social media. It's not. It's the traditional ways of marketing as well that are very, very important for you to build relationships with your prospects. The other thing is just selling your time for money, although as AVN guys, you're probably not selling your time for money. So, but if you are literally saying, right, okay, it's going to cost £100 a month and we're going to do your year end, we need to get you out of that, and we need to get you to the stage where you are providing huge value. This is where you're becoming that trusted advisor, where you're adding the advisory services. And Shane talks a lot about this. When you start adding the advisory services, that's where you start to see your profitability leveraged, and you can start to make more money and not work so hard and work yourself into the ground. And then finally, this is one of my favorite things. You'll see I'm bringing out the book called The Maverick Accountant. There's 3 kinds of accountants. You have the traditional accountant. They speak and act in a way where everything is about year-end tax, and the wording that you use is very the same as everybody else. Then what you have are the entrepreneurial accountants. They're the ones who are thinking a little bit outside the box, and they are going, right, okay, I need to try marketing. I'm going to maybe try some content marketing. Maybe I am going to run social media, and, you know, maybe I'm going to go and do a little bit of networking. And then you've got the maverick accountants, and they are my favorite. And I'm sure some of you are maverick accountants, because the maverick accountants are the ones that are going, right, okay, I'm going to do things differently. It's time for me to make a stamp on the world. It's time for me to provide the value. It's time for me to show that actually businesses need us. One of my friends wrote a blog saying why you don't need a business coach and you need a life coach. Well, actually, my thought is why you don't need a business coach, you need an accountant to help you grow your business. Because I truly believe that the magic is in the numbers. And you guys, as maverick accountants and entrepreneurial accountants, if you can get that message across, you have a whole load of businesses and a load of industries that really, really need your help. And if we can get that message across to them through the marketing that you do and through the positioning of your firm, what you'll find is you will get an influx of A-grade clients. But you can only do that if you start thinking outside the box and you start to speak in a different way and act in a different way. So that would be the Maverick Accountant. And I'll be covering more of that in my book as well, and on the podcast. So the podcast is coming out in January, and I'm interviewing key people in the industry that are one step ahead of where the industry is now, which is quite exciting. And one of the people I'm interviewing actually is Steve Pipe, your well-known Steve Pipe. I've got a couple of calls with him in January, which will be turned into the podcast, which is quite exciting. Okay, Peter Drucker said, the purpose of a business is to create and keep a customer. We all know that it's easier to keep a customer, 8 times easier to keep a customer than try and get a new one. So the great thing about marketing is when you're marketing well, it enables your customers to be served better too, and they will stay with you for longer. The average time an accounting firm keeps a customer is for 7 years. I have a client that keeps his customers for about 14 years. And what we need to do is try and edge that up so that you are actually keeping clients and customers for 14 years. That would be nice, double the average. So the purpose of all of your business is to create and keep a customer. And the purpose of your marketing is to create and keep a customer. Okay, so there's 2 things that are either happening. In your firm, you're either green and growing or you're ripe and rotten. And what I would like you guys to do is really focus on being at the forefront of your industry, which means that you are always growing and you're always pushing yourself. This is one of the traits of a maverick entrepreneur, is that, you know, you're trying to make sure that the information that you've got is right at the forefront. You're trying new things. You're one step ahead of the industry all the time. And the other thing about being a maverick accountant is very much trying things, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. What we don't want to do is live in fear and not try different marketing activity or different ways of running our firm. We've got to give it a go and see if it works, because it's only by giving it a go and seeing if it works that we actually progress and we learn. And there was a book by Carol Dwight called Mindset, and she talks of 2 different kinds of mindsets. You've got the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. And the fixed mindset thinks that they know everything already, and that, you know, the way that everything's happening at the moment is the way it needs to be done. And what happens is a fixed mindset is the ripe and on its way to being rotten mindset, whereas the growth mindset is actually, you know, what are the opportunities out there? How can I go out and search and, you know, make the most of what's happening in the industry? And it's, you know, green and growing is the growth mindset side of things. So you need to be at the forefront of your industry. The second thing is that you need to always be innovating. And by innovating, what I'm talking about there is looking at ways where you can share ideas and share your thoughts. You know, as accountants, I'm sure that you are laying in bed at night and just before you go to sleep, you get a spark of an idea, whether it's about growing your business, growing someone else's business. You know, it's going to be a random idea where you've looked at something differently because you're terribly left brains. And that's so cool because you see into things in a different way from the business owners who maybe have set up because they're very, very creative. And you see something in their business that they don't see. So what we're looking at is ways that you can, you know, when you have those sparks, just as you're going to sleep and you think about this client, is how can you help them innovate and how can you innovate so that you become an absolute linchpin to their business? And of course, we call it being a maverick of your industry. We want you to be this maverick. We want you to be the person that's doing things differently, thinking outside the box, acting outside the box. You can do it in your firm, you can do it with your marketing. Okay, and you need to shift your business thinking. So you need to look at how you show up online and offline to attract your ideal clients. So what you've got in front of you here is what I call the client attraction map. And I want you to think about things like, you know, what are the channels that you're going to show up on? How are you going to get people's email addresses so that you can carry on marketing to them? You know, do you have what I call a conversion tool? And a conversion tool is something like an event or a webinar, something like we're doing today. And how are you going to follow up with people when they show an interest in your firm? And when you have a client attraction map and you have it mapped out step by step, what that enables you to do is attract ideal clients, convert them into almost clients, and then close them. And then what you do is you then really deliver excellent customer service. They then refer people to you. They refer A-grade clients rather than just anybody. And then you work them through again the client attraction map. So you need to shift your business thinking to, I don't like calling it marketing funnels, but you need to think about the journey that you're going to be taking your ideal client on. How we do this here in 22, I just want to share now. the reason you're on this webinar today is because of my relationship that I have with Shane. So he's seen a couple of my webinars. We've had a few conversations, so he knows that our values are very much aligned. But if you were on this webinar through what I would call my sales funnel, what would have happened is you would have seen it on social media. You would have then clicked through to one of my blogs. At the bottom of my blog is a link that says download my 100 ways to market your accounting firm book. So you would have downloaded that, and then straight away you would have had something that said join my webinar. Then you would have come to my webinar, you might jump on a call with me, and then you'll either maybe become a client, or maybe you'll just carry on following me and watching my blogs and coming to my webinars until you're ready. And this is about having that process in place so that you can actually shift what you're doing, but having that client journey in mind. And you can see here, you will have the blogs there are distributed on LinkedIn, the download to 100 ways to market your accounting firm. Then you would come along to my webinar, and then you might go through the social media channels all over again. What can you do in your firm so that you take your ideal client on that journey? All right, I want you to think about this, because when there's method to your marketing and you're not just splatting it out and you're doing a few blogs here and a few social media updates, when you have something, I hate calling them sales funnels, but when you have those funnels where the journeys that you take the clients on and build that relationship, then you find that actually you can predict how many clients you're going to get every single month. You can decide to introduce new products and services, and you can really start to deliver a great experience for them. And then you need to think about how you're going to convert those prospects into evangelical clients. So you don't just want clients, you want clients that shout about how great you are. Because whether or not you use social media, or whether or not you're actually living with your phone and you're on it all the time, whether or not you're that accountant or whether you're the accountant that still has a Nokia 2210, your clients probably do have a smartphone. They are probably doing their banking online. They're probably sitting on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, liking people's updates, commenting. If they have a bad experience, they are probably on TripAdvisor writing about how horrendous that restaurant was. Or if they have a good experience, they're probably on TripAdvisor writing how great that restaurant is. If you have a really good relationship with your clients, what they'll do is they'll start to write reviews on your Facebook page, or they'll send out a tweet saying what a great meeting they've had with you. Something like that enables you to have what we call evangelical clients, people that shout about how great you are. My other business, which is the Freedompreneur Business Academy, which helps people escape their day job and start a business, has been purely built on evangelical clients. Very little marketing has needed to be done from me. It's just people shouting about how great the service was. So what can you do? What kind of experience can you deliver for your clients so that they shout about you? Online, we want them to do your marketing for you. That's the best thing. And when you can get that shift in business thinking and you see, that your phone or their phones are the answers to your marketing, you can really start to get some traction with what you're doing. So we want you to have active attraction. We want you to purposefully attract ideal clients. I'm going to go through those 9 steps with you. The first thing that you need to do is have elevated visibility. I'm just going to check in the chat box, make sure that there's no questions. If you have any questions, please write them in. Shane, I'm going to check in with you. Do you have any questions for me at all, darling? While I grab a glass of water.
No, we're all good so far. Nothing's come in.
Okay, great. Let me have a look at time too. Okay, elevated visibility is the first section that you need to make sure that you're working on. And what I mean by that is you need to be what we call omnipresent. And omnipresent is everywhere your potential client is turning, they need to see you. They need to see your accounting firm sharing great information. So how do we make sure that we elevate your visibility, whether it's online, offline, whether it's in conversations, whether or not, if they're going to the local hairdressers and they're having their hair cut, how do we get that hairdressers talking about you so that they say, oh, I didn't know you were looking for an accountant. If you're looking for an accountant, you want to go and see Mr. Smith from down the road from Smith & Co. That's what we need to do. We need to get you so visible that you become that recommended and referred accountant. So how do we do that? Well, the first thing that we need to talk about is positioning. And this is something that Shane has worked with you on, is about how do you show up in the marketplace? Who is your ideal client? If you are able to say who your ideal client is and and understand their problems really, really well, so that when you say, I take them from pain to solution, and I work with this kind of client, it's very, very easy for people to recommend you when they have someone say, oh, do you know an accountant that specializes in helping me with my franchise business, for example. So if you position yourself as the go-to accounting firm for franchises, that would then enable you to attract these businesses far easier. One of my other clients, who's not an accountant, she's ex-PwC, but she's not an accountant. She runs a big Georgian house up in Derbyshire. And she needed to actually find an accountant that could help her, because she lives in it sometimes, and she rents it out the other time. It's a massive house. It sleeps 14 people. It's absolutely stunning house. And what she did was she needed to find an accountant that specialized in people that are letting out their home. And she looked everywhere and she found an accountant that specialized, and she felt very safe and secure and comfortable. She paid over the odds for this accountant, but she felt very comfortable with parting with the money and putting her trust in this accounting firm, because they specialized as accountants that worked with people that let out their homes. And this is where they positioned themselves in the marketplace. So you need to think about, how are you going to position yourself in the marketplace? So it's very, very easy for you to provide huge value, get some systems in your firm, and then be able to charge. I want you charging a premium rate for your services. You don't want to be, being the cheapest person in the accounting industry. You want to be charging a really nice, fair price for excellent value. And the best way to do that is looking at your positioning. One of the best ways to decide how you are going to help people and who you're going to help is look at your A-grade clients and look at the frustrations and the fears that they're going through and their wants and aspirations. And as a little bit of homework for you from this webinar, if you haven't done this already, I'm sure some of you have, being part of AVN, but if you haven't done this already, I'd love you to kind of get out a piece of paper and just draw that cross and put at the top frustrations and fears and wants and aspirations. And what you'll find is that most of your ideal clients' frustrations are the opposite of what they really want in life. So one of their frustrations could be that they don't understand their numbers, and they're really frustrated because they don't even know what's happening in their business from month to month to month. And actually that's their frustration, but their wants is that they actually want someone to show them, what the opportunities are in their numbers, what the opportunities are for their firm. And this goes back to where I was saying you don't need a business coach, you actually need an accountant, because you guys have such amazing insights in what's happening at the ground of their business, and the frustrations that some of these business owners have got and the wants that they've got. You can help them overcome. Some of their fears might be that at any time they don't know if their business is going to carry on, and what they aspire to is actually having a business where their cash flow forecast is amazing, and they're always in credit, and they always have the kind of business that they've wanted, where they can take 4 weeks off and it not affect the way the business is run. Well, the only way that's going to happen is if you show them how. So once you understand who your ideal client's problems and their frustrations and their fears, and you understand their wants and their aspirations, you can really start to position yourself and differentiate yourself in the marketplace. The second thing, so we're going through 9 points here. The second thing is you need to work on your brand. Now, most people think brand is logo. They might say, oh, my brand is my website. I beg to differ. There are 3 kinds of brands that you're purposefully needing to develop in your firm every single day, as you're working, as you're thinking, when you're looking at your marketing, when you're looking at your positioning in your marketplace. You need to look at your personal brand. So there are going to be, I'm assuming that you're a partner in your firm, or you're looking after marketing in your firm. You need to position yourself as someone that is a trusted advisor and authority, someone who's an expert at what they do. And that's your personal branding. That's where you utilize your LinkedIn. That's where maybe you have your own Twitter account. You can build your personal brand through speaking opportunities. You can build your personal brand through getting articles in the local newspaper and writing every single week in the weekly local rag, about top tips for saving money in your business or something. And if you can find a way to do that, you'll raise your personal brand. The next brand that you need to think about creating and purposefully creating is your business brand. So that's going to be Smith & Jones down the road. Not saying that's what your firm is called, but whatever your firm is called, you need to raise and elevate the brand of your firm. And then finally, it's your product brand. If you've productized your services, if you have a year-long program which includes advisory services and ticks the management accounts and ticks all these different things, and you've turned that into a product, then you talk about that product when you are out and about, and you have information about that product online. Or you have maybe a services brand and something that you specialize in. And when you can raise that profile of your product, your business, and your personal, when you have all three of those integrating, what happens is you really elevate your brand and you stand out and it differentiates you. What I find most accounting firms do is they build their business brand and they really forget about the personal brand. And we need to make sure that, personal brand is probably the first thing that you build, because people buy people and they buy through relationship building. So out of all of those, when you're investing loads of time into having your logo done and having your website designed, think about, think about you as a person. How can you do marketing around you? How can you get your expertise? How can you get known out in the marketplace? Rather than investing hundreds of thousands of pounds or tens of thousands of pounds in marketing, how can you market yourself? Because that's the first thing people want, is they want to buy from you. So think about that when you're creating your brand. Third thing is the platform. So you're super clear on who your ideal client is. You're starting to build your personal brand, your business brand, and your services or your product brand. Now you need to think about the platforms to where you want to be seen. So under all of this, over all of this, we're looking at the elevated visibility. So where are you going to show up? Well, your ideal client is on an average number of 7 different social media platforms. So we're not even talking about the ones who are going to events or the ones who are reading the local newspaper or the ones who are picking up telesales calls or the ones who are getting, letters in the post. Things like that. We're not looking at those platforms. We're just looking at the average number of platforms online that your ideal clients are probably using are 7. So where are you going to show up? Now, I don't necessarily want you to go out and be on 7 different platforms. That can be A, super scary, B, very time consuming, and C, very overwhelming. But I want you to think about, once you've chosen who your ideal client is, and once you know what your brand is and what your message is, look at where these people are hanging out. Are they on Twitter? Are they on Facebook? Are they watching YouTube? Are they hanging out on LinkedIn if you work with businesses? Are they spending their quality time on LinkedIn? The other thing as well is not only the platform, but what times are they on these platforms? And one of the things that you can really clearly see when you look at analytics, whether it's Google Analytics or Twitter Analytics, you'll see what times people are using these platforms. And when you start to understand the marketing platforms available to you, you can stop wasting time and really get laser focused on where you need to be. So to have elevated visibility, you need to be on the right platforms at the right time. Not necessarily all the platforms all of the time, but the right platforms at the right time. Is this helpful, guys? Just write into the chat box. That would be absolutely super. If I don't get any yeps, then I'm going to stop. And I've got another 6 things that I need to share with you. So please share and let me know. Yep, brilliant. Hey, Ingrid, how you doing? It's good to see you in here. Haran, Gary, brilliant, great stuff. Excellent. Right, well, let's crack on. So first one, elevated visibility with the 3 sections underneath it. Now I want you to look at trusted relationships. Good but overwhelming. Yes, Cathal, is that how you say it? Cathal? I hope it is. I understand it might be a little bit overwhelming. I would like you to make notes and do listen back to the webinar. Shane is recording it, and I did kind of say I go very, very fast. What I'm teaching you is not something that I want you to implement today. I want you to see it as a 12 to 24 month plan. So the first thing that you need to do is get your positioning right. Then think about how you're going to be branding your firm. Then think about the platforms. So each of these is like a 1-2 month section that I'm going through. So please, this is very highbrow, but try not to get overwhelmed. And if you do, understand it's 12 to 24 month program that you need to go through with this. So second thing is trusted relationships. Why are your ideal clients in pain? The trust builds when you can articulate your ideal client's pain, their problem, better than they can articulate it themselves. So you can show what their pain is better than them. You gain the right to help them. So once they go, aha, that's the problem. Oh my gosh, that's why I am not succeeding with my business. It's not that I need a business coach and I need more clients. It's actually because the way I run my business and my numbers are an absolute mess. Once they realize that, they're then going to say to you, well, can you help me? Because you've shone that light, you've put that light onto their problem, and they're like, oh, that aha moment. So when you can show that they're in pain and why they're in pain, you gain the right to help them. And if you can get that aha moment, that's when you start to attract the ideal clients. I want you to think about the buyer's journey. So most of you now will have a website. People will come to your website, and 3% of them might reach out to work with you, like the 3% that land on your website. Maybe you've decided that you're going to do networking. You might go to a networking event, and if you're a member of something like BNI or For Networking, maybe 3% of the rooms are looking at buying from you at any one time. Most people are only in buying mode and have a problem. So out of everybody if you imagine a stadium full of 1,000 people, okay, in that stadium full of 1,000 people, 3% of that stadium will be looking for a new accountant right now. Only 3%. And they're the people that most firms tend to do their marketing to. So they do the marketing so that they actually attract people who are looking to buy now. But the clever accountants, the maverick accountants, are the ones who actually go, well, if only 3% are looking to buy now, how can I capture the other 97% of people so that they buy from me over a period of time? So if 3% are looking to buy now, you've got 7% who, on top of the 3%, so 10% of people are looking to buy in the next 3 months. So that stadium full of 1,000 people, 10% of that stadium might switch accountants in the next 3 months. That's it. The rest of the people are not in anywhere near as much pain as you think they might be. They're not looking to change accountants. They're not thinking about it. They have no idea that that's what they need to do. So they're not even thinking about it. But in the next 3 months to 2 years, you'll find that a further 30% who aren't thinking about it now will all of a sudden go, well, in 6 months' time, oh, my accountant's really upset me. I think I'm going to start looking around. So this is why with your marketing, you need to think about marketing to your prospects and actually understanding that it might take them 9, 12, 2 years to actually buy from you. This is why we talk about relationship marketing. It's about building relationships. So 30% think that they're not interested at all. They're never ever going to change accountants, but actually you'll find that they do. Within 3 months to 2 years, they will probably change. And then 30% know that they're never ever going to change accountants. But these guys who are never going to change accountants, you're never going to get them to buy from you, but what they might do is recommend other people to you. And the reason why they know that they're never going to change accountants is probably because, like me, their dad's a tax man, or their brother-in-law does their tax. But they might go to their brother-in-law to have the tax done because out of loyalty, but they might actually go, their friend might be a plumber, and if you're an accounting firm that is dedicated to helping plumbers, they might say, oh no, you don't want to go to my friend, you want to go to JB Plumbers down the road, who helps you with your accounts. So what I want you to understand is the buyer's journey is bigger than now. Most people do marketing to people now. And I was talking to Shane about this before. We had a little bit of a chat before we started the webinar. And for me, with you guys, it's about building relationships with you. Like I said, I've got nothing to sell to you guys now. What it is about sharing interesting content, and then we're going to build our relationship, whether you join me on social media, we connect on LinkedIn, whether or not you decide to go to my website afterwards, that's totally up to you. But what it is about now is about me sharing my information with you so that you can get value from it. And once you start to understand that's why you're doing marketing, you're sharing your expertise, and that's why you're doing your marketing, you'll find that you will eventually get a lot more clients that way, rather than doing that sales first, relationship second, with buy my stuff now, because only 3% of the room of 1,000 people are looking to buy and work with an accountant at the moment anyway. Okay, so how do we do that? How do we make sure that we're targeting the 3%, 7%, 30%, 30%, 30%? What we do is we do it through educating. And I have created something called the traffic light method. And this is where we look at the 3 stages of a prospect and how they are going to buy from you. So a prospect might be at red. And when they're at red, they have a problem, but they don't know what the problem is. And what you need to do as the accounting firm is you need to disrupt their thinking and illuminate this is what the problem is. So, for example, I was talking about the business that thinks that they need a business coach and they haven't got any money and they need more clients. And actually what you need to do is disrupt and illuminate the pain. And it's like, actually, the reason why your business is about to go under is not because you haven't got enough clients, but actually because you don't understand your numbers. And if you, with a few tweaks, can sort out your numbers, then you can have a successful business. Now, if you can articulate their pain better than they can articulate it themselves, you gain the right to actually work with them. And if you can be the person who is shining that light when they're at red, they're the like, why have I got this pain? Why am I so fed up? Then you will gain the right to work with them. Then what they'll do is they're like, right, okay, so I've got a numbers problem. Okay, let me do some research on that. What kind of way can I have better cash flow forecast in my business? So they're going to start researching it. They're going to be typing it into Google. They're going to be going on social media and they're going to look at hashtags and they're going to be asking their friends. So what you need to do is create content that actually gives insights and educates these people who are stuck at orange. So you've gone from red, you've got a problem. It's not a client problem. It's a numbers problem. So then they're going to be going, right, what do I need to do? Well, you're going to have lots and lots of blogs on your website and you're going to be on LinkedIn sharing about how to overcome the fact that your business isn't functioning in the way it needs to. And they're going to be like, oh, wow, all this information has come from Smith & Co. down the road. Who can help me? Now I know I've got a numbers problem. Who can help me? Which accountant can help me? And that's where you create content for them when they're at green. So this is why we call it the traffic light method, because you need to take every single client through these stages. You need to take them from red to amber to green. And when they're at green, they're looking who can help. And that's where you need to have things like a brochure. You need to be super clear on what your pitch is and your positioning, and you need to prove that you have the solution to their problem, and you need to price it in a way that makes it very, very attractive for them to work with you. And when you work through the traffic light method and you get clients to buy from you through the traffic light method, it might be that they buy from you immediately because you take them really quickly through this, or maybe it takes them 2 years, depending who they are. You will find that the education side of what you're doing enables them to really buy into you, trust you. They're the clients that stay with you for 14 years. They're the ones that become the evangelical clients because you've really helped them before they have even started working with you, before they've parted with any cash to work with you. Okay? I want to tell you a little bit about the 7-hour rule. Once I got this rule, I managed to make massive headways in everything. Every product I decided to sell, every business that I've set up, I've created the 7-hour rule. So when I first started working with accountants, when my dad was like, go and help the accountants, the first thing I did was create 7 hours of content for accounting firms to consume, because it takes about 7 hours for someone to build that know, like, trust factor with you. So if there's one thing that you guys can take away from this webinar today, is that if you have 7 hours of content out there, you can start to build relationships with prospects. So whether that is they listen to an audio, they watch a webinar with you, they come to an event, they read your blogs, whether or not they have a conversation with you on the phone, all of these things have to add up to the 7-hour rule. Why do I do webinars? It ticks off an hour and a quarter out of those 7 hours. Why have I written 80 blogs on LinkedIn? Because you can consume them. You can build those 7 hours to work with me. Why am I launching a podcast next year? So that, again, you can consume more information and we can build that relationship. Once you've got 7 hours of content, that's like the tipping point that people then go, well, I know, like, and trust them. So if they resonate and if they need you, they're ready to reach out. So ask yourself, have you got 7 hours of content that your ideal client can consume from you? And if not, that's something you need to start implementing straight away. Okay. Point 5 is authority. You need to be seen as an authority. Because the market is flooded with accounting firms, how are we going to know that you are the go-to accountants? This is Cone Accounting here. He's positioned himself as an authority for creatives. Ben Nacker used to be my accountant when he worked at WOW many, many years ago, like 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. He's built a really good business by niching and going from a generalist to a specialist. And then he's built himself up as an authority by having a blog and a weekly newsletter that goes out. And the one above authority is where you see yourself as a celebrity. It's something I call a niche celebrity. So if you can get yourself as the go-to person for a certain industry, you can find that you will attract clients very, very easily. Something I did when I used to live down in Wiltshire, I made a point of doing little speaking gigs and getting an article in the local newspaper. And within about 3 or 4 weeks, I was seen as a local celebrity. So it meant that I had to give up drinking and I couldn't go out enjoying myself anymore at weekends because I bump into people. But because I was in the paper every single week and they were reading about me and my marketing advice that I was given, it made it very, very easy for me to be seen as an authority in marketing. And when I was living in Salisbury down in Wiltshire, I very quickly got known as the go-to person for social media advice. And got dubbed the social media queen. It was something I had to actually completely leave Wiltshire and come to London to get rid of that name, but it worked very well. I became a mini celebrity. So think about how can you become a local niche celebrity, and how can you build authority as the go-to person in your niche. Right, next one, authority insights. I just need to check time. Okie dokie, we're fine. Authority insights. Another way that you can show authority is to be a thought leader and show insights into your industry. So my clients, Wow Accountants, they specialize in helping agencies. They do a lot of benchmarking reports. They do a lot of events that we can go to hear about how to grow a great agency. They get in guest speakers. They might run the agency collective, they call it. They might run it, but actually they get experts in to give talks from our industry. So they don't have to know and understand everything that's happening in our firms, in our businesses. But what they do is they are already seen as an authority because they're running these events for us. So how can you actually leverage other people to build your authority status? Then we're on to automate. So point number 6, I spoke to you earlier about the sales funnel. Oh, I hate that name, but the buyer's journey that you go on when you work with us. We've just done this for a plumbing company as well. And we've put in the sales funnel for them. And what it does is it means that people who find them on social media, then the rest of that sales funnel is automatically happens, and then out the other end pops a telephone call. So how can you automate your marketing so that you create it once and then it's all set up nicely and each little bit triggers? So if you put a post on social media that is a blog, at the bottom of the blog, can you have it linked to an ebook? And then from that ebook, can you get them to get emails to get them either on a webinar or an event, or get them to have a call with you? How can you run all this so that it's all automatic? Technology is amazing nowadays. You don't need to be sitting there sending all this out individually. You just need to feed it at the top, and out at the bottom will pop an opportunity. Okay, so think about how you can automate. So that was all of that section. So we did elevated visibility, first of all. This was building about trusted relationships so that people know, like, and trust you. And then finally, the third section is looking at sales conversions. Okay, so how can we convert all these people who see that you're the expert, see that you're the authority, they've built the know, like, trust, they've built that relationship with you. How do we then get them to buy from you? How can we go, you're going to provide great value, what's the investment? Fantastic, sign up here. How do we do that bit? Well, this is in the sales conversions. And the best way to get a client or a prospect to see you as an authority, to see you as an expert, and actually want to work with you is for you to run events. Whether you run events like a webinar, like I'm doing with you now, whether you run live events with, small 5-10 person events in your local area, maybe you run a networking group. You need to get your prospects in front of you. The moment you're standing on a stage is the moment you become the expert. And even if they're with another accountant, if they see you on the stage providing really great insights, they're going to think about working with you. So if we can get you running events by yourself, so if we can get you actually running the events as your firm's events, you'll find that you will have the sales conversions that you really need. So Joanne has just written here, getting people to come is very, very difficult. Yes, but if you have a system in place, it's not so bad. When you have your positioning and you have your message, when you have that, what I do to get people to come to my events, Joanne, is I'm just going to go to the next stage, which is campaigns. I'm going to talk you through this. So to fill webinars or whether to fill live events, you do something very, very similar. Okay, so the way I would give you some advice on this would be look at what the event is going to be. So have it to do with a specific pain. So when you understand who your ideal client is and their specific pain, you then look where you can find them. So are they on Twitter or are they on LinkedIn? Either or, you go and connect with them on LinkedIn and you say to them, I'm running an event. So you connect with them locally to you. I'm running an event. Would you like to come to the event? Quite simple. And you send them to Eventbrite. If you send out 100, 200 local invites, they will come. You're not looking at getting necessarily 50 people to the first one. The other thing that I do to fill my events is to send direct mail and good old fashioned pick up the phone. So my first event that I held for accountants, I didn't have any personal profile. I didn't have any brand profile. Nobody knew of my product. I didn't even have a website for accountants. And what I did is I got a list of accountants in the Guildford area and I picked up the phone and says, I'm having an event. Would you like to come to it? I must have made crumbs 250 calls over 2 weeks, had 10 people turn up and I got a client out of it. Now, I'm right at the beginning of my journey and I had no brand then, and that's how I filled the event. So it is difficult, but if you understand their pains and you have an event that overcomes their pains and then you work it like fury, you then get testimonials from your first event and then you ask people to come to another event. So you say, I had a great last event 6 months ago or 6 weeks ago or last month. Who would like to come to this one? And you do some marketing around that with a few of the testimonials. It's really hard the first few events that you have. Some people get lucky. Some people might have 1 or 2 people turn up. But what I would say is keep going, because when you have events and you run mini campaigns and you tweak and you measure these campaigns, you will eventually get known as the accounting firm that has these events. So I'll give you an example. One of my clients, Robert Fifth, he specializes in accounting for property businesses. So every 3 months he holds a property event. Now he invites his clients and he gets his clients to bring their friends along. And he has a 2-hour presentation on how to save tax when you have multiple properties. And at the end of that, he then nurtures those people and they become clients if they're not already his clients. And he started off with having 10 people come along, then 20 people, then 30. Now he has 50 or 60 people at a time because he's known for these events. But it took him a while to get to that stage. But he's super niche with his events. They're not, come to my accounting event. This is dedicated for people who want to look at how to save tax for property. Does that make sense? Does that help, Joanne? Do let me know. Because I want to make sure that this is landing and you're getting ideas, but it's not easy, and that's the thing with marketing. Oh good, it has helped, brilliant. If you've got any more questions about that, then please do reach out direct to me, honey. But I know that marketing is probably outside of some of your comfort zones. I know that you're very, very good. I couldn't do what you guys do. I talk about this as if it's easy. It's easy for me, but it's not easy for you guys, and I totally get that. But that's where you learn, you test, you measure, you tweak, you cry because nobody turned up, and then you just get back on that horse and you have the next one, and eventually it will start to work. And if you can get things like a little article in the local press, if you can think about doing things direct mail or picking up the phone, getting a list of local companies that are perfect for your events, you'll find that you will eventually get the results. But yeah, filling events is not easy to start with until you become the authority and you start educating people, and people say, oh, she did a great event last month, we must go, and I'll bring my colleague, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's why you have campaigns. So I went through a campaign there with you on how you can fill that. Okay, and then finally, point number 9 is experience. And you need to, when you have had the event and you've filled the event and you're signing someone up, you need to give them a great experience so they recommend and they refer you. Shane, are you still awake with us? Are you here? Have you gone on? You're there. Brilliant.
I'm wide awake.
There you go. Hello. I wonder have you finished your calendar yet? Have you eaten all the chocolate?
No, I chose not to, just in case you picked on me with a mouthful of chocolate.
I wanted to pick on you on this one. So we were talking earlier. I was talking about one of the AVN members, and he was telling me about a great experience. So do you want to share how one of your clients gives a great experience to their clients?
Yeah, well, in fact, if you don't mind, I'll just give a couple of recent experiences. The one that you and I talked about, really, and I suppose the experience, as Amanda's already said, is about getting people to have an excuse to talk about you. So let's say they've gone to, they're playing golf with an associate. The last thing they're probably going to bring up on the spur is, my accountant produced a raving set of accounts for me this year. They're not going to do that, are they? So having an excuse to talk about is incredibly important. So when I visited Blue Rocket Accountants, which are based in Kent, who Amanda has also spoken to recently, when I went there, they gave me the guided tour, of course, and in one of their rooms, just off of reception, they have a full scale Xtrix setup. If I'd have been a bit more prepared, I took a photograph of that, I could have loaded it up, but never mind. But they've got a scale Xtrix, and they've got a leaderboard. And just like if you've watched Top Gear, they all go around the big track there and they feature on the leaderboard. Well, they do exactly the same thing on the scale Xtrix. So that's just a bit of fun, but it's more likely that someone's going to raise that on the golf course. When I visited one of our other accountants based in Leeds the other day, I drove in. The first thing I was presented with was a sign on the car parking space to say, reserved for Shane. I walked in and there was a TV screen on the wall with several different slides that went through, but every single slide had got my name on it. Shane, did you know that we did this? Shane, help yourself to blah, 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 etc. There was a case of champagne on the side, and it said, Shane, this could be yours if you give a referral. All of those different things. The fact that it had got my name on everything, which, let's face it, is just following a system that somebody in your admin team, the receptionist, whatever, can do if they know you're expected. It adds to that experience and it gives people a reason to talk about you. Sorry, I'll stop at that, Amanda. But,
it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Thank you. And that it is. It's about giving people a reason to talk about you, and also getting people to buy from you if you give them this great experience. So, like I was saying at the beginning, where kind of my personality stands out a little bit in the accounting world. Well, when you work with me, it's a great experience, or not, as the case may be, depending on your personality. But it is, isn't it? It's about making sure that you have the essence of your values and everything that you do featured in everything, all of your marketing, whether it's getting people to buy from you or shouting about you so that they can shout about you on social media. So thank you, Shane, for sharing that. That's awesome. So I'm very aware that I need to wind up because we're a little over the hour, but I want to talk to you about the £2,000, £14,000 meeting that local accountants to here, they missed out on £14,000. So how did that happen? Well, a couple of years ago, I was thinking about leaving my accountant. So I went and had a meeting with them. And in the meeting, it was absolutely fantastic. I felt very, very motivated. I felt they were going to look after me. I felt they really understood the pains that I was going through. I wanted to go from a cloud accountant to a local accountant so that I could walk in and speak to them and see them. And they might still function in the cloud, but I could have those physical meetings. I felt that's what I really needed at the time. And just like me, there's going to be other people out there, which is why the local accountant is still very important. Don't feel that is going. So I had a great meeting with them. And at the end of the meeting, I had 1 month left with my other accountants to sort out my year end. And then I was going to come across to them. And what happened was I left that meeting, myself and my business partner, and we said goodbye to the lady who we had the meeting with. And she said, right, that's fantastic. Let me know when you've spoken to your accountant. We'll move everything over and we'll start looking after you. And I said, okay. So I went back, I spoke to my accountant, and they said, please don't go. We'll really look after you. We're really sorry that you feel that you're not getting cared for and looked after. Please stay with us. Now, in the end, we ended up staying with them, but it wasn't because of anything they did. It was because the lady at the local accountants never followed up with us. She never got in touch with us. She never phoned to see how we were going. She didn't even send an email out saying, thank you for the meeting. Here's some information. Here's some value add. Here's what we agreed. She didn't do anything like that at all. And because she didn't follow up and because she didn't give us that amazing experience after the meeting, so the sale doesn't just finish in the meeting, because she didn't give us the amazing experience after the meeting, meeting. It cost her firm £14,000. If we'd stayed with them for 7 years, which is the average, we would have paid her £2,000 a year, and it would have cost that firm £14,000. So I want you guys to think about the experience that you're providing to your prospects and the experience that you're providing to people, even when they become your clients, so that they stay with you for a long time, because it works out very expensive when you think about how many £14,000 you might have lost because you didn't follow up, because you didn't send that email, because you didn't pick up that phone, you didn't continue to look after them once they'd signed, and then after they've signed as well. So what are your key takeaways? If you could just type into the chat box, what's your TK? I've got a fat tongue. When I talk for too long, my tongue gets kind of like this. So what's your key takeaways from what I've gone through so far with you? If you could just let me know, that would be awesome. There might be one or two, but if you just let me know. I'm not going until someone writes it. So if you want the webinar to finish, you have to tell me. Accountants need to work on personal brand. Campaigning, brilliant. Joanne, that's really good. Please do get that sorted. Need to create content. I think that was meant to be Claire. Yep. Inspired. Good. 7 hour. Yeah, the 7 hour rule completely changed my business, Emma. And follow-up systems, very much. Work on brand. That's good. Oh, Robert. Hello. I know you. Yes, we've been chatting on social media, I think. I recognise your name. Brilliant. So key takeaways, work on brand, excellent. Campaigns to fill those events. Please do the events, guys. They really position you as an authority. Okay, so it's time for you to draw a line in the sand. Do you carry on doing what you've always done, or do you say enough is enough, and do you decide that you're going to start, shifting that thinking and start doing the marketing? Because your model determines your success, okay? So it's going to determine whether or not you actually have the income that you want to have. So are you going to still run your business as a rusty old bucket? No, I'm sure it's not a rusty old bucket. Or are you going to start thinking outside the box? Now, the car I've chosen here is the new 4x4 Jag, which I really, really want, which is why that picture's there. Okay, so you need to think about, are you going to change the way that you're modeling and doing it? Because what we need to do is we need to be super visible to attract quality leads. We need to build those relationships so that when we build those relationships, what we do is we build trust, because building trust is bigger than tactics. It's what your entire mission is, according to Brian Clark. And actually it is. The number one thing that we need to do is not do marketing because we're told to do marketing, but we're doing marketing to get people to know, like, and trust us so that they want to work with us. We don't do it because it's fun. We certainly don't, I find it fun, but you guys probably don't enjoy it quite like I do. A bit like when I do my accounts, I don't enjoy that quite as much as you might do it. But it's that building that trust is what enables your firm to grow. And that's why you do marketing. You don't do marketing because you're told to do updates on social media. You're doing it to build the authority, to build your brand, to build the trust, to build the know, to build the like. Okay. And then what we need to do is find a way to convert all of those people who are showing an interest in working with you and getting them to become clients. So I was talking about the events that our accountant holds for agencies every, I think it's every 2 months, might be every 3 months. I think it's every 2 months. They have these events, mastering client services, okay? So the kind of thing that they help us with, this is for you, Joanne, too, the kind of thing that they help us with is what our biggest problems are. So how can we service our clients better? So it's not about accountancy, it's about helping us in our firms. Now, they have between 200 and 300 people turn up to these events every single 2 to 3 months, okay? And they do that by building the know, like, trust, by holding these events. Now, the majority of the people in these events are their clients, but not all of them. And we bring our friends. So the only reason I joined the agency collective is because my friend said, oh, have you joined the agency collective? Who's another agency? And I was like, no, I haven't. I went along to it. Now, I actually worked with WOW anyway, but there are lots of people there who are building that know, like, trust with the WOW accounting firm and will eventually buy from them just because of the events that they put on for the agency collective. So think long term. Think it's not, actually you guys didn't write about it being a key takeaway, but I want you to think only 3% of people who are looking at your services now are ready to buy. You need to mop up those other people. So you need to have marketing systems in place so that you can actually work with them over the next sort of 2 years or so. So this is what it looks like, the relationship marketing roadmap. So I've given you so much stuff that might feel overwhelming. I've put it in an image for you. So we went through the elevated visibility, where we looked at positioning, brand, and the platform. We've looked at the trusted relationships, where you need to educate your clients, you need to build that authority, and you need to automate it so that you're not overwhelmed and you're not having to spend so much time. You need to have events. You need to run campaigns to fill those events, and you need to create a great experience. You need to run that experience through everything from the moment someone touches your brand for the first time all the way through to when they become a client. And you've got your Scale Electrics out, which I think is absolutely brilliant. I'm thinking about, how can I weave that into my business? I want a Scale Electrics. Can we save tax on that? Can the business buy that if that's what we're doing? That's quite a good idea. Please let me know, because I don't know the answer to that question. That's your expertise. So yeah, things like that. It's lots of fun. It builds something for people to talk around. And as Shane said, when you're on the golf course, how are you going to come up in conversation? Well, you've got to be a little bit quirky. So let's find ways that you can be quirky. So as I said, there is nothing for sale on this call today, but if you would like to talk through the roadmap, Joanne, if you would like to talk about putting together this mini campaign, I'll map one out with you on a call. All you have to do is just book a 30-minute roadmap session with me, and I'm happy. Again, it's about building relationships. I'm not here to sell to you. It's let's look at the marketing you're doing, and if your firm is in a position to work on marketing, then book a call with me, and I'll be very happy to do that. Please be aware we're only a couple of weeks till Christmas, so hopefully I can get you in before Christmas. If there's many of you, we might end up having to take it over to January, but I know it's a busy time for you too. So your objective is to build a marketing asset. And what I want you to do today, you've invested a lot of time into this call. I want you to do one thing, and all of you can go away to do it and actually make this webinar profitable for you. 91% of customers say that they would give referrals, but only 11% of salespeople ask for them. So when you have finished this webinar, I would love for you all to go to your database, which some of you won't even be marketing to, and I want you to send them out an email, or I want you to pick up the phone and talk to your clients and say, "Happy Christmas. Can you refer a person to my firm?" And when you say a person, give a really clear outline of who your ideal client is. So choose that niche if you haven't got it already. Write down who your ideal client is. Do you know anyone who is suffering with these pains that I can help? Could you recommend me to them? Because if 91% of people say that they give referrals and only 11% of salespeople ask for them, there is a massive number of you not asking for referrals. And I'd be very, very interested in the number of referrals you guys are actually purposefully going out and buying, asking for. So although I'm all about marketing, your marketing is there to support your referrals. But to make this webinar completely worthwhile for you, please go away and do that. If you can take that action, you will get clients from today's webinar. That's the low-hanging fruit that you can go and actually nurture and really build relationships with them. There are a lot more statistics on this slide. I'm sure you're reading them. I'm not going to read them all out. Please listen back to the webinar, or actually take a screen grab quickly while I leave it up there. But take a screen grab so you can have a look. All of these statistics actually show that it's really important that you follow up, that you write your blogs, that you look after your leads, and that you put in a nurturing process, which I truly believe in very, very deeply. But for me, it's thank you very much. Thank you so much, Shane, for having me. I don't know if you want to jump back. Hello, darling. Yes. Thank you, everyone. And thank you for those who have commented and given me feedback and been interacting, because it makes it so much easier. What are your key takeaways, Shane?
Well, actually, I've got a question first, if you don't mind.
Okay.
We've got a kind of a mixture, by the way, of existing AVN members, and also we just opened this up to our entire list. So,
okay, well, to buy from AVN, because there's lots of things they can help you with.
Well, not everybody is an AVN member, but those who are, many have got access to over 70 pre-made, if you like, ready to run presentations that they can do for building their profile up in that sense. We call them BBFs. There's always a difference between people charging, making them free. I noticed that Eventbrite one, it was 371 or something pounds. What's your view on that? We've got mixed feelings in terms of bums on seats. The show rate is higher if they've paid,
yeah.
But how much, I suppose. So just on behalf of maybe some of the audience that might be thinking that, what's your...
Yeah, absolutely. So the Agency Collective, it's got a price on there for £371. It's to stop anybody just booking. So if you are already, we pay, so this is how actually they make their money. So to be part of the Agency Collective, I pay £100 a month. So over a year, it's £1,200 a month. I get 3 or 4 events. I can't remember whether it's 3 or 4 events. And I also get a portal where it's a membership portal where they might do videos or they might give away webinars like this or that kind of thing for £100 a month. So I don't have to pay for those tickets. As a new person, if I wanted to book that ticket online, it would cost me £371 if I found it on Eventbrite. But if I wanted to invite another agency friend, I'd get to come along for free. So someone who wasn't. So it's very, very clever because it stops what we call the tire kickers. And that's where it's really good to have a price. What you could do is you could put a price up on Eventbrite, but if you were going to have a telephone campaign or a direct mail campaign or send things out on LinkedIn, you could say, but here's, I'm inviting you, but I'd like you to come for free. And the price is this. The other thing, I've held many free events. The other thing that you can do is give away to a charity. So you could say it's £10 to come along or £20 to come along and it goes to this charity, which is a lovely way to do it. Or you could just charge. So I'm going to be holding a one-day event next year, which will be going into more depth of these 9 steps. I'm going to charge £97 for that. So it covers the cost of my room, but not more, but it's definitely worth £97. So if you're not selling, you can charge for it. I have no problem. If it's going to be a sales pitch, please don't charge for it because you will really annoy people. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think that's spot on. Thank you for that.
Good. You're very welcome.
For those remaining, and I don't know what the expectation was, we had a bit of a dropout just at about the 1 hour mark, so I don't know what the expectation was around an hour, but those of you who are left, if you'd like to... For Amanda to be able to get in touch with you via email or any other method, why don't you, we can't legally pass Amanda your contact information. I'm sure all of you are very much aware of the upcoming GDPR changes to legislation. However, if you'd like for Amanda to have your contact information now, then actually if you just typed into the chat box, there's only the panelists going to see that. You can just type in your name and your email address and we can, and then legally you've given consent for Amanda to get in touch. So that's just a more gentle way of doing that, and arguably you'll probably get a lot more insight as well through her email campaigns. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm just going to, I hope that this is okay, I'm just putting a link to my website, if I've spelled it right, 22.agency. If they go there, they can also download the 100 Ways to Market Your Accounting Firm.
That's probably a better idea then. If you go to that, then chances are, is that in exchange for an email address?
Yes, it is. And then that's all the legal way to do it. That's probably a really nice way.
That's better still, actually, because you've got the double opt-in and all of that lot. So actually, thank you, James, for doing that. But actually, if you click on that link, that's the much better idea. So
yeah, absolutely. And please spend some time on the website. There's lots of blogs on there. And as I say, it's not a sales call. Jump on a call with me if you'd like some advice. I would love to give you some personal, one-on-one advice. That would be absolutely super.
Brilliant. Well, one final thing from me. Those of you remaining, please, we can't do a round of applause on a webinar, so at least give a yes, I got value in the chat box for Amanda's benefit and for mine too.
Only if it's true.
Well, absolutely. And then we'll bid you a good day. So, yeah, did you get value from that? Give us a yes or a no.
I'm not going till someone says yes.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you. Brilliant. I'm so pleased that you did. Excellent. I hope it wasn't too overwhelming, and hopefully the image brought it all together at the end. That kind of brought it back down into something that wasn't too overwhelming. But I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me, Shane, and thank you for the opportunity to share my passion with your tribe. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Spot on. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. All the best.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.